Welcome to the Zen Mind Show with Michelle and Dr. Pat. Rapid Zen transformation. Are you looking for healing processes that require no financial investment? Then this show is your beacon of hope. Hi, I'm Michelle Carbone, a rapid transformational therapist with over 700 hours of training in hypnotherapy, coaching, trauma, and intuition. Together with Dr. Pat, we will be providing the resources and guidance you need to take meaningful steps towards your personal healing and growth. From mindfulness techniques to actionable wisdom, each episode will offer invaluable insights. Join us today as we explore the tools and practices that anyone can do and have access to. Join the Zen revolution. Transform your life today. We are a community dedicated to supporting each other as we strive for a balanced and Zen-filled life. Stay tuned with me and Dr. Pat. The Zen Mind Show starts now.
Welcome, everybody. I want to welcome you to an incredible show, but I want to start out by saying this show in particular follows the last one in so many ways. This is so important, and I am going to let Michelle do most of the talking through this. But I want to say sometimes we forget to tell you how to work with Michelle. Go to Zen Mind Michelle with 2 L's.com. Zen Mind Michelle. Did I get that right, Michelle?
Yep,
right?
you're
okay,
correct.
Good. What I want to say, and let's get going. What I want to say is Illuminate is this episode, embracing shadow work in the workplace. Okay, I'm going to start out and then I'm going to let you roll with it. Shadow work, the loss of my job after 24 and a half years led me on a journey to understand it. That journey led me to study at 3 different levels the consequences of psychological contract violation, better known as broken promises. I went on to study that, wrote about it, 1,200 pages of interview notes, and I was depressed. Why? Because I didn't know how to do what you're going to talk about today. And it wasn't just my own experience that happened in the workplace. It was carrying the burden of 200 people, 1,200 pages of interview notes, their pain because they don't know how to embrace shadow work in the workplace. And I just wanted to start out, it's not changed. We need to learn this. Is that why you picked this topic?
Yeah, and I think our work environment affects the rest of how we feel, right? Like it's all about I right before we came on, I was like, oh, I remember a time when my ex-husband got a new job. Finally, he'd been laid off, and a big computer company here in Oklahoma City, and he literally wanted to kill himself. Like, he was so miserable in the environment that they created and fostered that he was a different person in a week of training with them. It was ridiculous. So I think educating people on how to create a work environment that's positive and where we can all experience growth is so important.
Yeah. And that's what you're going to walk us through today. Let's start out by talking about what shadow work is. I think it's one of the most important things we can learn. And I also think it's one of the most misunderstood. And also, we just went through your credentials because one of the most important things that I've gotten help with was not at the conscious level to really work through some of this. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Well, it's shadow work is finding these subconscious programs that are, just we can't see them. They're in the background. That's why it's a shadow. It's just back here. And unless we know, oh, there's something back here. What is it? I was 3 years old and this thing happened. And now I have this little part of me that's like, meh, meh, meh. Sometimes we don't know what happened to us. So getting into a hypnotic state is, I love it because it's like the shortcut to shadow work, and I'm like, please, just trust me, this is amazing. Because, if we can find that shadow, it's, it can change our lives and we can create the life that we want and mindfully choose what our life is like.
Yeah. I just want to comment for those of you, the word shadow, I want to tell you something. Shadow is so smart sometimes, right? So let's go through what understanding shadow work is, but even more importantly, what are some of the questions that we need to really unveil, right? Because we cannot get at the source. You know, Einstein said it. You can't not solve the problem at the level it was created. So you have to go to the deeper place, right?
Yeah. Yes. And part of that is even getting into that observer mode and taking yourself out of the emotions and being in the swirl of whatever's happening, and like taking a different angle and looking at it from a different perspective. And I see shadow work as just, there's so many different versions of what people might say it is, but it's just, I feel like it's just finding that subconscious program of why am I acting like this. So the questions you can ask yourself, first of all, practicing mindfulness, so helpful in doing shadow work, because you need to notice what's going on. You need to notice, like, oh, I've noticed there's this pattern that when this happens, I do this, or when this happens, I react like this. So, okay, I'm going to notice the next time it happens, and let me go deeper. Let me ask myself, why? Is this similar to something else? Is this, I mean, I have a girlfriend who just quit her job, and it was like they really needed shadow work in that place, because her boss would just unload on her sometimes. And she was just like, what did I do? And so there's two shadows here. There's the shadow of my friend who allowed herself to basically be abused, just as she had in previous relationships. And then there's the boss who also had shadows of treating people not great. And why is she acting like that? Why is she taking out her frustrations on someone else instead
Yeah.
of looking at herself and working on that?
And there's a real distinction. I used to work for, I have to tell you, my leadership style is based off of a woman that mentored me, Mary Louise Smith. And and it comes from her because she was a businesswoman and she was firm and she was businesslike. And so when you walked in her room, of course, I've shared this before, she would always say, don't open your mouth if you're going to give me a problem without you telling me what part of the problem you are. And boy, did I cringe, but boy, did that hit a shadow spot with me. Now, she wasn't all happy and smile. You didn't walk in, she didn't open up with jokes. She was about the business. And so let's not confuse a person's leadership style with abusive management leadership in the workplace, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For
But
sure.
you know when it's abusive. My boss used to pound on the table. Hello. But either way, we got to get on inside. Why did that bother me? Why, when Mary Louise Smith said to me, what part of the problem are you? And by the way, I don't use that on my people here. But when she said, what got at me? And then my two partners in crime, they would laugh, but I would cry. What was that about?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was like triggering something from the past, from childhood, some place where you were traumatized by that type of energy and that type of situation, right? It was like, oh, this is like when my mom said something to me, about something, or my dad, or whatever, all the things.
Right. But let's talk about the reflective questions, because if I'd have known these, I'd have been able to get at that for myself, right?
Oh,
I'd have
yeah.
been able to get at what's underneath that,
Yeah.
what happens with that.
Yeah. And I think one of the practices that I've done with my clients is just like, okay, well, why? And why is that? And why is that? Because we have to be willing to not take the first answer, because the first answer is like, that's just your ego. It's surface level. But like, okay, well, why that? Let's dig a little deeper. Well, and why is that? And then we want to get down to like, oh, it's because I don't feel good enough, or it's because my dad's told me that whatever, and that's causing this chain reaction of where I am at now. So like I think the biggest question that you can ask yourself is why? Why? Act like you're a little child who wants to know why of everything. This is why children ask why all the time, right? They want to understand. So like let's ask ourselves why? Where did this come from? How am I reacting? Am I responding or am I reacting? Maybe I need to start learning how to pause and take a minute and choose how I respond instead of just that quick reaction, because that's part of growth too, is learning like we're never not going to be triggered, but figuring out what it triggered us and why can help us figure out how to respond better in the future.
But let's talk about this because it's so important if we can understand this, because then we'll know what to do with it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, this is why we're talking about it. If you don't find a way to deal with it, I mean, Michelle, some of the people I spoke with were carrying the pain for 20 years.
Which is way too long.
Ouch, right?
Yeah, way too long to carry that pain.
Yeah. Now, Linda and I talk about our ex bosses and we laugh a bit, but we were not laughing for a long time. You know, can we use these Can we use these situations as opportunities? How do we do that?
Yeah, I think just like in relationships, we can look at that and go, okay, what in me is allowing this dynamic? What am I seeing in them that's also in myself? Because I think that's part of shadow work is, sort of allowing people to be our mirrors and to say, okay, I'm seeing this in them. Why? What in me is recognizing that?
Mm, mm. This is obviously important to you. I mean, you do so much shadow work. Are you seeing a notice or a trend or patterns? Do you see a reoccurring theme happening in the workplace from where you sit?
I think just that I don't, I think we all got really shifted when COVID happened,
Yes.
and
Good word.
you and I have talked about that. And so I think that's part of it is this like, I think people are waking up to their value. And so we're seeing a struggle, at least, from where I sit. Obviously, I don't work for a big company. So this is just coming from the people that I've worked with. But, it's like, wait a minute. I don't have to work free overtime. I don't have to put up with being treated like this. I deserve better. They need me. I don't need them, right? Like I can go get another job. People are always hiring. So it's like, okay, no, so recognizing their value, I've seen a shift in that. But then the companies don't really like that so much. So they're having to figure out how to incentivize, how to treat people better. I mean, there's a company in Oklahoma City that pays people $20, $30 an hour, which I mean is where they should be. That's what we need to like survive in this place instead of, $7 an hour or whatever. So it's like they're recognizing the value. So it's like if you can find a company where you're happy and where you're valued, where you feel valued, I think that's so important. And people are recognizing like, wait a minute, I don't have to go to work and hate it. I can go to work and actually like where I work. How
Yeah.
can I do that? How can I foster that? And I've seen companies go bust because they treated their people like crap.
Yeah. And this is so important. How do we help people recognize, we're so good at stuffing it, like stuffing it, right?
Yeah,
Because we don't want conflict. We don't want to go back to the boss that hired you that said, you're going to be able to take time off after you have your child, let's
right.
say. We're gonna work with you on that. You can work from home, da da da. And then all of a sudden the boss doesn't do it. But and then we stuff it, we don't do anything about it, right?
Yeah, yes. I think I mean as supervisors and leaders, you should be fostering a environment where people can come to you with their concerns and not feel like they're going to get fired or attacked or blacklisted or whatever. And as an employee, deciding I'm going to stick up for myself, but I'm going to be clear, I'm going to be kind, I'm going to get to the point. I'm not going to sit at my boss's desk and cry for an hour. I'm going to express myself. If maybe I do it in an email because that's easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. But coming at it from a place of respect will change the energy between you
Mm-hmm.
and being like and not saying you brr, 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 and not getting into that sitting in victim mode, but just going, hey, do you remember when you hired me, blah blah blah, like, and this isn't happening, and I'm just wondering what do we need to do to like have what you told me be true.
Yeah.
Like, right, like how do we fix this, because I'm not happy right now because I'm not getting these work needs met, or I'm not, you lied to me essentially. And I don't want to work for a company that's going to lie to me. I
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to trust you that when you say, okay, I'll hire you, you get maternity leave, that you actually do it, because I had a baby and now what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, that actually was a real story that was shared with me about a week ago. But here's what this person could use some help with,
Yeah.
because it's a situation, it happened, it's a negative energy. And
Hmm.
if she does not get some skills about this, this is not going to go away. How do we clear this? I mean, look, there are millions of people right now that are working in abusive situations,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are afraid. Some people are, and I have to tell you that there are some situations where people are in the United States and are so afraid to raise a flag about anything. But I want to help people today with average, everyday, no, they're not average, but everyday
Yeah.
situations where they can't leave that job and they need a tool to clear that mess.
Yeah. I think, setting boundaries is important, right? Like, and knowing that you're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to say, no, I'm supposed to be off at 5 and I'm leaving at 5. I've seen this culture of like overworking ourselves,
Mm,
and there's no reason for that. Are you getting paid for 80 hours a week? Nope. Okay, stop doing that. It's your choice to put up that boundary and say,
mm,
my job is from 8 to 5 and that is when I will be here. And I
mm,
have a life and I have a family. Because if we don't foster those outside relation, like we're not living to work. People wake up to, like, we have life, we have joy and happiness available. Stop working all the time. Wake up and go, you know what? I'm more valuable. I'm allowed to have fun. I'm allowed to express myself. But I think choosing to be a little more positive and spreading
mm,
that through, like when I worked at a call center, my little team was quite positive because my supervisor fostered that and I fostered that. And then other people would like, oh yeah, this is nice. It's nice to be positive. Um, but making sure, doing mindfulness practices, I think, is so important, to noticing how you feel, acknowledging how you feel in these situations, finding out why you're afraid. Is it because of my ego's telling me I need to be afraid, because the ego's always hanging out? Or like, is there actual, physical things that you're afraid might happen to you that are legitimately, is this a lie your brain's telling you? Because usually it's a lie. And usually we just need to have that courage to say, hey, I don't think this is right, but doing it in a way that's kind, respectful, even coming at it from a compassion standpoint, I think can really switch that up. But getting past the fear, I think, is the biggest challenge people face. And all I can say is the only way I've gotten through fear is to go through it and do it
mm.
and jump off the cliff
Yeah,
and put myself at risk
yeah.
and be okay with that.
I want to recommend something to people. Find somebody that is supportive of you, loves you, cares for you, and practice on them. Practice the hard conversations. I had a hard conversation. I had a hard message that I had to deliver to my team this week, and I really had to practice it. And what
Yeah.
I ended up in, because I couldn't disclose a lot of very private information, but it helped for me to say things out loud. And, part of this is remaining confident about who you are, because a lot of times you'll get into a situation about this and you can't clear the energy.
Yeah.
You have to know how to clear energy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there are some things that you can talk about. Definitely, we talked about empathy, understanding, but also self awareness and mindfulness is also very important. And mindfulness strategies can help. And I don't know why we're not talking about them more often outside of a show like this.
Yeah. I mean, mindfulness is just that base thing that we all should be practicing. I mean, and it's so easy and simple. And it seems like, oh, I used to think it was dumb, but it's like it really does make a difference. I mean, like I had my first glimmer the other day and I was like, And if you don't know what a glimmer is, it's the opposite of a trigger. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really am healing. I had a glimmer, woohoo! So it's just so interesting how we can shift things eventually. And you have to have the knowledge and patience to know that it does take time. You're literally changing your neural pathways in your brain. So like give yourself grace and love and patience while you're going through that transition. But yeah, I think practicing is important. Or I actually, if I have to have a difficult conversation, for me, I write it down and then I practice and then I write it down some more and I change what I wrote 20,000 times. But I get it right because I focus on this is what I want to express and I want to keep it simple, but I want to express how I feel.
Yeah. Part of this is also understanding that we're also, by doing this, is we're cultivating a culture, and whether that's an organizational culture or an internal culture, a systemic culture within ourselves. But we're
Yeah.
cultivating a culture of growth, because I don't want to give people the illusion that having conversations like this are easy. They aren't. But the reward or benefit from encouraging what you're talking about, open communication, and then creating a culture, even if it's a small culture within your group. Sometimes you created a call center culture that may or may not have been in line with the bigger company. We can still do things like that, right?
Oh, yeah, you can change the culture. It's all about clearing the air. So I think clearing the energy in some way, if you're still with the company, let's say you're a supervisor or a manager or something, clear the air. Like, hey, you know what? We've been treating you guys like poo and we want to change and we want our environment to be happy and to foster growth and for you to be happy to come to work. Because honestly, they would do that, happy workers work so much harder and so much better than someone who's there just because they don't want to get fired because they need to pay their bills.
Yeah. I mean, there are simple things. For us as a company, we made decisions when we first started as a corporation. We made decision that we were going to provide people with equipment and workstations and places to come in a very restrictive type of job situation where you're not supposed to do that. You really are supposed to have people buy their own equipment, get their own computer. And I'm like, okay, that's ridiculous. But that's not all. About a month ago, we got snacks.
Oh, nice. Right? It's the little things. It's like the people who work at Google and they have all this cool, fun stuff.
And the cool thing is they got to pick out their snacks. Like, they, thank goodness I didn't pick out their snacks, right? And the snack that I did pick out was so bad, I gave it to my friend to use as pet food. It was that bad. But let's go through some practical tips we can leave people with. And it really is the small things. I used to take my team bowling. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Find fun. Look for, one of my mindfulness practices is I'm constantly looking for beauty. It's easy to do. Oh, what can I see that's beautiful? Oh, there's a butterfly, a flower, whatever. Beauty everywhere. Breathing, just taking 1 minute. That's it. 1 minute to focus on your breathing. Easy. You can do that for 1 minute. Even if you have to say to yourself, which I do, breathe in and breathe out. Easy mindfulness practice, right? Or mindful walking. How does my muscles feel? How do my feet feel? How does the air feel? Or even sitting outside and just listening. The birds and the bugs and, it's easy to just take 1 minute of your life and do that
It
and
is
notice the
easy.
change.
So Linda is obsessed, not obsessed in a good way. Linda's very mindful of the rabbits that come visit. And so every day we're looking for the rabbits. I mean, it may sound silly, but it's not,
Yeah, it's
because it
fun.
takes you away and you're
Yeah.
looking for the rabbit. Now, of course, you don't want to go down the rabbit hole and think that the rabbit got hit by a car or anything, but you start to think about, where's the rabbit? And we watch them 5 minutes out of a busy day.
Yeah. Just
Um,
giving yourself peace for a
yeah.
few moments.
What is your take on mentors and surrounding yourself like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, with the right mentor, it's they can change your life. They're going to be supportive. They're going to encourage you. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
guide you. They're going to help you through things that they experience themselves. I mean, I love talking to other hypnotherapists and being like, hey, I had a little like mini class and I was just like, hey, here's what I figured out. And I want to share it with you guys because this
Yeah.
isn't need to be locked down knowledge. Like, let's share with each other. That's how we learn and grow. And maybe they see something different that I didn't see and I learned from them. So, having somebody that's a guide and a mentor is just, life changing.
Michelle, thank you so much. How do people get a hold of you to work with you, but also tell folks a bit about the work you do, especially in this particular area, because we are not reaching out enough to deal with what's going in the workplace where we're spending a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, zenmindmichelle.com is my website, and zenmindmichelle at Gmail is my email, and all the Facebook and Instagram, zenmindmichelle, it's all the same. And working with hypnosis, it's wonderful. We talk to parts of ourselves. So let's say you have anxiety of leaving your house and it's making it hard to go to work. That's something we can work on, figure out why. Why are you having trouble with this? What's going on? Let's find that shadow and talk to it and say, hey, what's up? And let's find those memories from childhood and reframe them and review them from an adult mind instead of your 4-year-old self who didn't really know anything about the world at that time, So it's an amazing practice to just go in and get in that subconscious, dig around a little bit,
Yeah.
throw out some programs.
Yeah. And really, there's a wide range. As a matter of fact, I just referred somebody. I don't know if they'll actually call you, but they're deathly afraid of needles and injections to the point where they will not get like a super good IV for their system because they're so afraid of that. And those are the things that are not like visibly here. You just know you're afraid of them. Those are some of the things you can also get help with, right?
Oh, 100%. Habits, fears are, habits and fears are easy to take care of. I'm like, oh yeah, that's easy. We can take care of that. And people are like, really? Like, yeah, you're afraid to fly? I know why. Let's go in, let's take care of it and make you the world traveler that you want to be. It's all about figuring out what you want, what's blocking you. We take away the block, get you where you're going.
I love it. Michelle, again, give out your website one more time and thank you for today.
zenmindmichelle.com, and Michelle's 2 L's, Michelle.
And remember, it doesn't matter how big, how small, whatever you think it is. If it's something that you have been wanting to move beyond, call Michelle.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I'm telling you, hypnotherapy is so powerful. I can't even explain it, but she can.
Yeah,
Thank you,
people
Michelle.
just call
Thank
it
you.
magic. It's fine.
I think it's miraculous.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yes. Thank you so
Michelle.
much.
Let's take a short break, everyone. We're not done yet. We'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to the Zen Mind Show with Michelle and Dr. Pat. Tune in the first Tuesday of each month at 11:30 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more free resources that anyone can do and have access to for your personal healing and growth journey. Imagine a space where you can not only listen, but actively participate. Soon we'll open our phone lines for call-ins, offering direct coaching to help you navigate challenges and accelerate your transformation. For more information, visit www.zenmindmichelle.com.